Elena had only been in America for a week. She was 14, quiet and always polite. Her family had just moved from Latin America because of her father's new job. Everything felt new: the streets, the food, even the way people looked at her when she spoke. At her new school, Elena tried to stay invisible. She didn't raise her hand in class. She kept her head down in the hallways. Her English was good, but her accent made her nervous. She worried people wouldn't understand her, or worse, they'd laugh. Most of the kids didn't say anything mean. Some whispered when they thought she couldn't hear, others just stared for a moment too long. A few smiled kindly, but even kindness can feel heavy when you're carrying fear. Elena missed home, she missed being understood, and as she walked into English class that morning, she hoped, just for once, she wouldn't be asked to speak. In English class, Mr. Harding stood at the front, his arms crossed. He was known to be strict, but Elena hadn't expected what happened next. When it was her turn to read aloud, she took a deep breath and tried her best. The words felt heavy on her tongue, but she read clearly, slowly. Suddenly Mr. Harding interrupted her. Wait, he said with a sharp smile. Are you sure that's how you say it? Sounds more like Spanish, doesn't it? His voice was loud enough for the whole class to hear. Some students looked surprised, others smirked. Elena's heart sank. She wanted to disappear. Maybe you should stick to your own language until you can speak real English, he added, his tone cold and mocking. The room grew quiet. No one knew how to react. A few kids exchanged uneasy glances. Jamie, the girl sitting nearby, clenched her fists but stayed silent. Elena swallowed the lump in her throat. She looked down at her book and said softly, "Okay." Inside, Elena felt a mix of shame and anger, but no tears came. She knew this wasn't the first time someone had made her feel like she didn't belong. She just wanted to get through the day without making a scene. The rest of the class moved on, but the words hung in the air like a heavy cloud. Elena felt smaller than ever, yet deep inside, something started to grow, a quiet strength that no one could see yet. Elena kept her head down for the rest of the class. Her hands trembled slightly as she held her book. She wanted to disappear, to hide from the eyes that seemed to watch her with a new kind of curiosity, some confused, some pitying, and some even a little cruel. She didn't cry. Instead she breathed slowly, trying to calm the tightness in her chest. The insult from Mr. Harding stung deeply, but Elena knew she couldn't show weakness. She had learned to carry her pain quietly, like a secret no one else should know. Jamie, the girl who sat nearby, stared at her with soft eyes. Jamie wanted to say something but didn't. Instead she gave Elena a small encouraging smile before looking away. That tiny gesture was a small light in the dark moment. Elena thought about telling someone, her parents, the principal, maybe even a counselor, but she was scared. What if it made things worse? What if no one believed her? So she stayed silent. She wanted only to survive the day. After class, Elena walked slowly to her locker, feeling the weight of the day settle on her shoulders. But inside, beneath the hurt, a small voice whispered, "You are stronger than this." It was a voice she didn't quite trust yet, but one she would learn to listen to soon enough. After the incident, whispers filled the hallways. Elena's quiet presence suddenly seemed louder. Some students talked in hushed voices about the girl with the accent who didn't fight back. Jamie, who had been watching Elena since the classroom, began to wonder about her. One day, Jamie overheard Elena speaking on the phone in Spanish. Her voice was strong and confident, full of warmth and pride. Curious, Jamie started asking around, who was Elena's family? Where had she come from? The stories she heard were mixed. Some were kind, others filled with small rumors. No one really knew much. Elena never talked about her home, or her parents. She carried herself quietly, but there was something different about her that made people curious. Slowly, the students began to look at her differently, not just as the new girl with the strange accent, but as someone with a story they wanted to understand. Jamie wanted to protect her, even if she didn't know how yet. There was a feeling growing in the class, a mix of respect, curiosity, and something more powerful, like the beginning of friendship. But no one expected what would happen next. something that would change how everyone saw Elena forever. A few days after the classroom incident, the whole school was called to the gym for a surprise assembly. The principal stepped up to the microphone, with a serious smile. "Today we have a very special guest," she announced. The doors opened, and a tall man in uniform walked in. His presence filled the room instantly. He wore a decorated military jacket covered with medals and badges. The students whispered as he made his way to the stage. "Please welcome Colonel Javier Morales," the principal said. The colonel looked around the room with kind eyes, then his gaze landed on Elena. She stood up quietly, and walked toward him. The whole gym fell silent. When Elena reached the stage, the colonel smiled warmly, and wrapped his arms around her in a proud hug. "This is my daughter Elena," he said clearly, his voice strong and steady. The students gasped, whispers turned into surprised murmurs. Jamie's mouth dropped open. Colonel Morales began to speak about his service, and how important it was to respect all cultures and backgrounds. "We all come from different places," he said, "but what matters most is how we treat one another." For the first time, the students saw Elena in a new light. She wasn't just the quiet girl with an accent. She was the daughter of a respected hero who had served his country with courage and honor. Elena looked around at her classmates, her heart pounding. She wasn't afraid anymore. She felt proud of who she was, where she came from, and that she could stand tall despite the hurtful words from before. That day, the gym echoed with applause. And for Elena it was the moment everything changed. Mr. Harding's face turned red when he saw Colonel Morales on stage with Elena. He looked caught off guard, his usual confidence gone. He avoided eye contact with everyone around him, shifting uncomfortably in his spot. The principal gave him a sharp look, a silent warning that his behavior wouldn't be tolerated anymore. No one said a word, but the message was clear. Then, something amazing happened. The entire gym burst into applause. The students cheered, some standing up. Jamie shouted, "You go girl!" and clapped loudly. Elena smiled softly, not proud or boastful, but peaceful. She didn't need to say anything. The applause spoke for her, a wave of support and respect that washed away the sting of the teacher's earlier words. In that moment, the balance of power shifted. Mr. Harding had underestimated Elena. But the class, her classmates, saw her for who she really was, and just like that, the silence that had followed his insult was replaced with a voice that couldn't be ignored. After the assembly, things at school began to change quickly. The principal called Mr. Harding into her office. He was told his behavior was unacceptable, and he would no longer teach Elena's class. The school also announced new training for all teachers about respect, diversity and inclusion. Elena felt a mix of relief and nervousness. She wasn't sure what would happen next, but she knew she wasn't alone anymore. Her classmates, especially Jamie, reached out to her more. Jamie invited Elena to sit with her group at lunch, and introduced her to other students. Elena slowly started to come out of her shell. She joined the student council, and helped organize events that celebrated different cultures. She was even asked to speak at a school panel about respect and acceptance. Though the memory of Mr. Harding's words still hurt, Elena no longer felt afraid to speak. Her confidence grew every day. She realized that her accent was part of her story, something to be proud of, not hidden. Jamie and Elena became close friends. They shared laughs, homework, and even secrets. Jamie admitted she wished she had spoken up sooner during the classroom incident. Elena's family was proud of how she handled everything. Her father, Colonel Morales, reminded her that courage isn't the absence of fear, but the choice to keep going despite it. By the end of the year, Elena was no longer just the new girl with the accent. She was a leader, a friend, and a symbol of strength for many students. Her journey showed everyone at the school one important thing: kindness and respect are the true measures of who we are. And sometimes, the hardest moments become the most powerful stories. Elena's story is a reminder that everyone deserves respect, no matter where they come from, or how they sound when they speak. She didn't have perfect English, but her courage, her heart, and the love of her family were louder than any accent. When someone tried to make her feel small, she found a way to stand tall. Her journey wasn't easy. It was filled with moments of pain and fear, but also hope and strength. And through it all, Elena showed what it means to be brave, not by fighting back with anger, but by staying true to herself. Sometimes, people judge others too quickly, but Elena's story teaches us to look deeper, to listen carefully, to see the person behind the voice.